FT in the summer. It's that time of year where people are going to be in places. KP is in a place. Eric Kratz is visibly in a unique location today. Kratz, is that a press box?
It is a press. It's not a press box. It's a tower overlooking like a clover leaf type of John. It's great. Baseball everywhere. High quality baseball too these days. At the end of the tournament, it gets better.
And if anyone wants to leave KP, they have the 360 view in the tower to make sure that nobody leaves the grounds. No quitters today.
Hey, is there air conditioning in that tower by any chance?
Gracias Dios for the air conditioning, because I would be sweating like Francisco Cervelli at a drug test right now if I was sitting out in the Georgia heat.
And you can insert that name with many, many others. Real quick. Many. Did you hear Brian Anderson on the Rays broadcast the other day?
I wanted to text BA so bad, but I didn't have his number when he said that. Just a large shout out. Max Kepler hit a fly ball to center field, right to the track, right at the wall, caught, and then he goes, 80 games ago, that would have been a homer. Too soon?
I love it. Never.
No, that should be part of the lexicon. I respect that. Yes. I really like it. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it is part of the game. We don't have to hide it. It shouldn't be awkward. It should just be like, hey, this person juiced up. They got caught. Now we can make fun of it.
Do the crime, you do the time.
Exactly.
And the time is forever, in my opinion.
All that.
There's no expiration date.
You didn't. Until you come out and tell me it wasn't foot cream.
That's right. No weird virus or any of that. Hey, we have a superhero graphic from an FT fan. I was just scrolling through mentions. I was like, oh, this was fun. Noah put this together on X, sent it over to us. It's the Foul Territory League. Kratz, any complaints?
Zero. I mean, besides the fact that AJ is not the Flash. Yeah, exactly like I put in Twitter. But you have to know who I am. People are like, who is the green? Why is Kratz green? The Martian Manhunter essentially put together the Justice League. I mean, one time, read a DC comic. He has shape-shifting, teleportation, and flying abilities. Like, what else do I need to have as a power?
Legendary. I love that. And KP, you're not on there because this fan was clearly a Dodger fan, so they included the Dodgers Territory show. But if any Bluebird fans want to get involved at some point, who would you be? I think this is the most layup question of all time.
Yeah, I mean, Superman is kind of the name that I was given, but it's kind of odd because I got it after robbing the home run, so I thought Spider-Man would have been more fitting, but the Superman name is kind of started in Toronto. It's kind of followed me throughout my career. It's kind of cool though. My kids are starting to like be of age and they understand that I used to be someone, not just a media personality. So. And I do have the Superman logo tattooed on my elbow. So every once in a while, my son will be like, where's the Superman tattoo? Yeah, it's right here. Look.
That's cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. When I was playing, my kids were young. I played for the Phillies, and somebody, I don't know if it's called CGI'd, or they made a picture that made my arm turn into like a laser. And so it was me throwing a ball, but it was my laser arm. And my one son, he was probably 3 or 4, and he goes, just in the middle of a meal, with a bunch of people at our house, he walks up to me, he goes, Dad, show him the laser arm. And it was like the cutest thing ever, because all he had seen was the picture, and he truly thought I had a laser arm like a transformer. Not DC Comics, but a superpower, and that's how your kids see it.
That is cool. You can get away with
you were
naming when they're young.
You were naming all those superpowers that your guy has, and before my kids started watching certain TV shows, I wouldn't have known what some of those are. But those are the hottest topics in my house every day. My kids are like, "What superpower would you want?" I'm like, "Well, I answered that yesterday, the day before, the day before."
That's the best. And nap time; those are the best. That's where you're at right now. Nap time. Now I'm in screen time land, so I got to get them out of screen time land. That's not the best.
Right. You're trying to get some time for yourself, and then eventually you're trying to get time
back with them.
Yes, with them. Okay, got it. Noted. Yep. Let's charge.
He's charging the mound.
Oh, what happened here in the AL East, KP? We're going to skip your Blue Jays for now since they got swept over the weekend, but we'll start with the super sweep, 4 games for the Red Sox over the Yankees, and the Yankees offense looked like it needed Aaron Judge, finally.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big story, Sonny yesterday, kind of making his presence known, about his dislike for the Yankees organization, almost throwing a no hitter. But yeah, I mean, baseball. I mean, you guys do this every single day. Obviously, I cover the Blue Jays a little bit more. I fill in on this show, but has this not been the strangest baseball season of all time right now? There's legitimately like 4 or 5 really good teams, and then everything else is kind of just mixed up. It makes it almost impossible to lay out some bets because going into a series like this, the Yankees, obviously one of the best teams in baseball, the Red Sox have really underperformed this year, and then you get a 4-game sweep. So I don't really even really know what to make of it anymore. It's just the baseball, the parity in the game right now is making it for a wild west right now.
Parity. There's no way. There's no way there's parity. There's no way there's a chance for everybody to win on every night. But my team will never win a World Series. Going to the Red Sox, I think it's like 11 straight quality starts in a row. This is all without Garrett Crochet. To me, that was the biggest thing, and I think that's the biggest thing with or without Aaron Judge. I think a team starting pitching can pitch to the Red Sox lineup. Yes, there's guys with ridiculous stuff that can also pitch, but you don't need to have guys that are just pumping 99 to be able to beat the Yankees. In my opinion, you have guys like you had last night with Sonny Gray. And Sonny Gray was on one last night. I mean, I think he had like 16 of 20 first pitch strikes. Like it was ridiculous. The fact that he gave up a hit and a walk to Ahmed Rosario, like Ahmed Rosario never walks. That was the anomaly of the game that he actually walked in that game. But to me, you can pitch to the Yankees, and if you can pitch to those spots, you see what happens. Really makes quick work of a team that is a much better hitting team than what they showed. But again, they were pitched to, not thrown to.
Kratz, did you hear what Anthony Rizzo said about Jazz Chisholm? And, he's on the broadcast on Sunday night. Rizzo is not too far removed from being a part of the Yankees. Jazz was booted from the game for arguing a check swing call. Was he right? I think so. I mean, I'll let you guys decide. Yep. But even if you are right, you want to stay in the game because then you get a cold player and a player not as good as you that has to fill in. So Rizzo said, quote, "It shows a little bit of immaturity for Jazz to get himself ejected." Quote, "The team's scuffling. They need him in the lineup, and now he puts Volpe in a tough position coming in completely cold." Chris Kirshner, who writes for The Athletic, said, "This is why, in my opinion, it's not a good look for Jazz to skip talking to the media. Rizzo is still tight with many of the current Yankees, including Judge. Believe it or not, this stuff does matter behind the scenes." So the other piece of the puzzle here is Jazz, who always has fun with the media, decided to not speak with them afterwards. What does that mean? As we always go over in this show, everyone else has to speak for you and handle that. Kratz, your thoughts on all of this?
That's it. That's the only distraction that it is. Somebody else has to do it. Whether they want to or not, whether they give any answers or not, somebody else has to be the guy that has to say, yeah, you'll have to talk to Jazz, or you have to, and you always get those type of answers. And it's like, if he would have stood up and spoken, you would have gotten his side of it. Bing, bang, it's over. It's probably, but now he's got to come to the ballpark again the next day, and they'll approach it, or they'll approach other guys, or he has to duck during the 45 minutes that the media is in the locker room before the game. Like it's stuff that can be distracting, and you have to be an undistracting player or small distractions player when you're looking to get over $100 million in your free agent contract.
Yeah,
KP, would you be pissed?
Yeah, I think, considering everything Jazz said going into the season, talking about, wanting to be a 40-40 guy and holding himself to this standard, and one of the best players, if not the best player in the world, is out of this lineup for a significant amount of time. It's time for him to step up. So for Anthony Rizzo to come out and call it immaturity, I would agree. Obviously, there's certain things he's done recently on the field that would suggest some immaturity as well, too. But when you put your team in a situation like that where you have to bring a guy off the bench who's probably not the quality of player that you are, he has to come into the game cold, but you're also talking about a lineup that is struggling without Aaron Judge. It's your time to kind of put the team on your back, and then you decide after the first inning, your first at bat, that you no longer want to be in this game anymore, just is a level of immaturity. And these are all the little things. We talked about Framber and what he did, and obviously these are kind of different layers to it. But when you are a impending free agent and you're looking to secure a huge bag, these are all the little things that matter to front office. There's no doubt Jazz Chisholm has this level of talent that, can be unmatched at sometimes. The combination of speed and power, the ability to play a great second base, some position versatility, obviously the confidence, the belief, the swagger, these are all pluses. But when you talk about certain things that he's been doing on the field recently, I always tell people in this game, whether it's about going into free agent and trying to make money, or just trying to keep your job in the big leagues, don't give people a reason to write you off. And right now, he's giving people a reason to write him off.
That is so true. I mean, I'm at a high school basically showcase tournament with scouts galore here. Don't give them a reason. Don't not run it up to first. Don't not run out to your position. All that stuff that big leaguers should know and live by a different level. But to me, last night, yes, he was correct. He did check swing, and he should have checked it down to third. Adam Hamari, the home plate umpire, gave him every chance to stay in that game. Every chance. Boone came out, got in the way, and he chose to turn around and slam his helmet. And it just showed what exactly what Rizzo said, a level of immaturity that teams will question when they go to free agency.
I have a question for you guys on the position player side for Boston. First off, for Boston, huge. I mean, your season's on the brink here. Now they're within some level of striking distance. I still think they're in trouble, but it at least helps you stay relevant for now and not think, oh, we're going to sell, weeks in advance, right? They're probably one of many teams that will go right up against the trade deadline. They did lose Marcelo Meyer to the injured list, bone stress reaction for him that he's been dealing with on and off for a while. Apparently, it's similar to Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. KP, since you're fresher out of the game, and you probably saw some of this with the bat speed craze that's going on. I didn't get to read the article because it popped up for me right before the show started, but apparently IKF had this bat speed increase, and he was focusing on that hardcore, and maybe that led to the injuries. So I'm just trying to put two and two together. Are there some teams that might be pushing it a little bit? The Red Sox are losing a lot of young players too. Meyer, Roman Anthony's been out most of the year. Do you think we're going to run into this? I don't want to say epidemic. We have that with the arms, but some type of issues here where we're enforcing bat speed so much with everybody that it's going to lead to more injuries, especially for the youngsters.
No, I don't think you're off in saying it could be an epidemic. Obviously, we saw kind of the epidemic of chasing velocity and what it's done to pitchers' arms. How can it be any different when you're chasing bat speed? Like, the human body, especially your own human body, is probably only supposed to operate at a certain speed. Yes, you can kind of gain, marginal increases in certain things, but I feel like you can't take a guy who's throwing, 90 and then get him up to 100 miles an hour and not expect there to be extra stress that his body's really not accustomed to having. I don't think it's any different when you're talking about guys now chasing bat speed. I don't fully I understand like the science behind if you swing harder and you square it up and the ball could potentially be hit harder and further and all that stuff, but I still don't believe that swing speed is the end all be all, because I do know this. I looked it up last year during the postseason. I was like a guy, I think my average bat speed was 69 miles an hour, and I wanted to look up really like good hitters that had 69 as their average, and Bo Bichette came up. And I think last year, before his injury, Bo Bichette was one of the best hitters in the world. What he's really good at is squaring up the baseball, regardless of his bat speed 69 or 89. Like, he has the ability to square up the ball. So I think it's not the end all be all when chasing bat speed. I think there's still this ability of squaring up the baseball, hitting it at the right point, creating the right sort of, angle off your bat. But yeah, I do believe if guys are going to just continue to just chase bat speed, not understanding these other parts of hitting first, that there's going to be an epidemic in this game of guys getting, side injuries, oblique injuries, hand injuries, wrist injuries. And apparently there's this, what did you call the injury? A forearm stress reaction?
Yeah,
Yeah.
bone stress reaction in the forearm.
Oh,
Yeah.
never heard of it.
I saw one guy get it, and he wasn't where John Ford Griffin He was an elite prospect for a little while out of Florida. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll create an epidemic, but first of all, to what KP said, giggity. Second of all, anytime you push yourself and you want immediate results, pitchers throwing 90, getting to 100, like by the next offseason, you're like, okay, what did it take to get to that point? And did we build enough of a foundation to withstand that? It's why all the dudes, when I first started playing, that were on steroids, got hurt after they got off steroids because their bodies went big muscles, running faster, throwing harder, doing everything faster. And all of a sudden, their body's like, thank you. We took it to the limit. Now we're going to break down. And that's my fear. And that's why I try to tell kids and anybody trying to improve at anything, the daily work is what's going to get you those gains, not one bang, quick jump.
And just to confirm, it was in the Boston Globe. I believe it was Tim Healy, but I'll double check who wrote that. But yeah, I'm just getting the AI summary here. While the aggressive swing increases came with tangible power upgrades and one of the better stretches of his career heading into the IL, the extreme workload led to a throbbing arm pain and the stress reaction injury. So he was like, hey, I got to up the bat speed.
The way I read it was just like a bat flexes. You watch a bat flex. I saw a doctor wrote about it. Your bones can actually flex slightly. And if you're doing that, if he's taking a lot of swings, if he's doing that at a higher rep, speed, all that stuff, it creates not a fracture, but I mean, not a break, but a fracture where a stress fracture could turn into a break.
Yep. We don't like that. But hey, Red Sox fans should be excited, at least from the weekend. The pitching was money for the team to keep them alive, and the Rays are in first place right now in the AL East. Let's get to the AL West with a GM change coming through over the weekend. Sam Blum will join us to deliver the goods. People, dehydration sucks. Quince electrolyte stick packs to the rescue. I order them. I use them all of the time.
Listen, as somebody who may or may not have had some adult beverages in their life, the next day, you know what flavor I like? Watermelon. And I don't like watermelon, I'll go raspberry. And it helps me to get my citrus salt in. But if I do, it helps me to get back to normal, feeling good, and ready to go the next day.
Yep, tough workout or dry mouth in the morning, whatever it is, this is going to help you out. Quince always has the best deals for you. You can go on their website and see a number of products. We're talking about not only a product that tastes great, but has zero sugar options that are also stevia free. Give your body what it really needs to stay hydrated. Go to quince.com/foul for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/FOUL for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/foul. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. A few injury reports to share. We'll start with Wyatt Langford, injured list, left hamstring strain. Evan Carter back for a Rangers team that cannot afford to lose dudes. Although, hey, aren't they in first place right now at an even 500 after the weekend of the sweep and the Mariners not playing ball?
Ooh, got to get ready.
They are in first place. They're in first place.
Unreal.
Hey, Kratz, have you ever played with a guy? Because Wyatt Langford, man, like I was around him. He was 23 years old, fresh out of college, and he missed some time when I was there, but he just possesses all the tools to be an absolute superstar in this game. But he has one of those body types that's like, there's just muscles on muscles on muscles, and you just worry he's just never going to be able to stay healthy.
Oh my gosh. I've never seen somebody that is super jacked, like you said, muscles on muscles, that stays healthy for 162 games. It's a skill to stay healthy. You need a little bit of fat. You need your body to like move around a little bit. You can't pull fat. So no, I've never seen it. I can't think of anybody that's jacked.
And he's just so explosive. Like he rotates fast. He can
He's
jump
compact.
high. Yeah. It's just he's just wound so tight that he's like this freak athlete. But with that comes the risk of hamstring injuries, soft tissue things. It's a shame because he possesses all the tools of being one of the best players in the game. I've seen it. I've been around him. His work ethic is incredible. It's just sometimes you have one of those body types.
And he's
Eat a
having a year.
cheeseburger. Eat a cheeseburger.
When he's on the field, he is hitting. Sam Blum covers ball for The Athletic. Great stories all across the game, but also used to just focus on the Angels and still definitely keeps himself busy with a team that's often in the news. You can also hear him somewhat frequently on our Halo Territory show. Sam, great to have you on here, man. Appreciate the time. So walk us through what you just saw over the last few days as Perry is out and Mozeliak comes in. I don't think anyone saw that one coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. No, it was a shock. I mean, and they announced it like 1 hour before first pitch on Friday. Pretty classic Friday night news dump. Yeah, I mean, this was, and I also am curious to get Kevin's perspective on this, just having played there. But I mean, to me, this kind of felt like a decision that it ultimately was going to be made, whether it was now or at the end of the season. Probably needed to be made, just kind of given the overall trajectory of the team. Just in 5+ seasons, they really never sniffed a 500 record. They constantly dealing with chaotic things happening, whether it be on the field, off the field, whether it be Perry's fault or not Perry's fault. But I think when you're kind of going through that day after day, year after year, this was necessary. And the reason why I think it did happen now was a change in leadership from John Carpino, who had been a longtime president under Artie Moreno, to Molly Jolly, who has worked for Artie for decades, but was promoted into this role. And I think maybe at least that's how it's been sold here. It's her show, and she made this call. And if that is kind of what played out, I would give her some credit, and I would give the Angels some credit, and hope that they're headed in a direction that they desperately need, which is to give some autonomy to the baseball operations people and allow them to spend as they see fit, and also just kind of dictate the culture and leadership as they see fit, which hasn't been the case for so long.
Yeah, you kind of answered my question, but to answer your question, yeah, I mean, I don't think anything that the Angels do is really surprising. Yeah, the timing of which they do things, never surprising. But that was going to be my question to you is, his contract was due at the end of the season. I was going to ask you, why do you think now was the timing?
I mean, I think it's the trade deadline and the draft. My guess is, and just senses, like I don't think Molly and maybe even already necessarily trusted Perry to go through one of those July's again, which is really the most important month for any top executive. So you get to the end of June, this had been in the works for weeks. I mean, if you've been to an Angels game in the last month and a half, there's been nonstop protests happening. There's been a lot of uneasiness with the fans. Ironically, they've actually probably, I mean, they played above 500 baseball since really early to mid-May, so they've not been bad on the field. But if this has been in the works for weeks, I would imagine that's kind of around the time that this all started, and conversations with John Mozeliak. And the thing that stood out to me just from hearing him talk was it was really the first time in a long time I'd heard anybody in that position or anyone in leadership with the Angels, be it kind of a manager or general manager or president, just kind of speak freely, like as if like they're not really worried about getting fired for saying the wrong thing. And I don't think he is worried about getting fired for saying the wrong thing. I mean, he's got a contract that goes till, Mozeliak has contract goes until the end of December or mid-December or whatever it is. And, he's done this and he's succeeded already. And I think if it doesn't work, back to what he was doing before. But if it does work, he can be a hero, a savior, and a kind of an all-time baseball name if he can fix the Angels.
You said this is possibly in the works for the last few weeks, but right before the draft, like how does that, or are we making too big of a deal out of what a GM, big league GM does for the draft and all that, all those I's have already been dotted and T's have been crossed for the draft, and it's just a matter of who falls to them?
I think Perry had a huge role in the draft, probably more than any other GM in baseball, if based on what I'm kind of my understanding of it. So I actually think it's really interesting, and maybe that might be partially why this is happening. I mean, Tim McIlvaine, who runs their kind of scouting department, is a highly competent person who maybe was being I don't want to say this definitively, but like kind of maybe wasn't fully in that role as he maybe could have been or should have been. So I'll be curious. I mean, they just had the combine last week. I believe Perry was at that. So Yeah, it's interesting timing. And if you look at the way the Angels have drafted over the years, it's very consistent every time under Perry. It was college players almost universally, especially in those first 5 to 10 rounds, and then they would kind of pay over slot for a high school player that may have otherwise gone to college if they didn't make a significant, amount of money in their bonus. So one thing I'll be looking for, especially over the next month, is are there changes to these strategies, right? Or is this always kind of an arty thing? Like we don't want high school players early in the draft, or you get to the trade deadline. Are they going to be willing to part with a Reed Detmers or Jose Soriano, guys who are, it's painful to watch them go someplace else. Like you've brought them up, and you're finally starting to see some success with these pitchers. But I think that was something that Mozeliak said, which kind of resonated with me, which is Artie may be a big baseball fan, and that might be to his detriment. And just somebody that has had a hard time recognizing that it's important to make painful decisions and trade players that you like watching play, and, build yourself a farm system that can actually be sustainable. So that hasn't really been what, the Angels have, the way they've operated. I always felt like they could have got something back for Kevin Pillar a couple years ago. So, they like to hold on to guys. Sorry, I know it's a joke. Sorry. But yeah, no, we'll see. We'll see what happens when they get to these kind of inflection points, if it's going to be business as usual or if there's going to be changes to the way they operate. And I think that will be an indicator to understand just how much of a role John can have, Mozeliak can have, in actually making this a functioning operation.
What kind of person do you think has to come in? Is there a certain level of credentials of a GM that Artie would just kind of hand over the keys to? Because we know how controlling Artie is and all the decisions that are made, and obviously it hasn't worked out. Is there a certain type of person that you think could be hired there that would get autonomy to make baseball decisions?
I don't know. I mean, I thought it was even if you go back to when they hired Perry, there were other more qualified candidates at that time, and I think when you kind of look back at it in hindsight, it's easy to think maybe you get someone you can control a little bit. You kind of isn't gonna, you know, color outside the lines of the way Artie thinks. Now that being said, I think you hired someone here who is in the contractual situation and in the career and life situation where he kind of will do this regardless, right? Like I think if Mozeliak finds that he's not having the authority on autonomy to, you know, create an operation here that he thinks will work, then what's the point of doing it for? I don't see why he would have any motivation to continue it. So yeah, I mean, the interesting thing that came out of the press conference the other day was that Mozeliak said he's never talked to Artie. I don't even know how that's possible, right? I don't know. I don't know why he would want to take this job, which has all of its connotations with it, not knowing what he was really stepping into with Artie. So we'll see. I mean, again, I think it's going to kind of take some time for everybody to understand exactly what role he'll have. Because I don't know when they're going to want to hire this GM. I imagine it'll be before the lockout. That was one thing that he said. But beyond that, could it be before the end of the season? Could it be, after the season, before the lockout? What are they going to do with Kurt Suzuki, who's kind of on this expiring, really awkward 1 year deal, which has been a weird thing to watch play out all season. I don't know. I think there's so many things that will just kind of get answered with time. But to answer your question, Kevin, like I have a hard time believing it until I see it, just because having been around this for years now, 6 seasons, like it's very, very, very consistent. It is already kind of being a dark cloud over everything that's done, and I don't know how just making one personnel change is necessarily the be all end all, but it's at least a positive step, and that's kind of how I characterize it for now.
Well, someone's got to take the fall. There's an old saying, you can't fire all the players. That's why managers usually get fired, right? But I was going to
Yeah.
ask you follow-up question two is, how do you think that initial conversation goes? It's interesting that they've never spoke or they've never met face to face.
Yeah, I mean, he said they hadn't spoke at all, so I don't know. I'd be fascinated. I just don't understand how you work. I mean, in that role, such a critical role for the Angels, and knowing Artie's kind of, it's not just reputation, it's just the reality. His word is very much the way it goes around there, and that is probably true for all 30 teams to some extent. But I think here it's just kind of manifested itself maybe more, more significantly, and yeah, I don't know what that first conversation is like, but I did again. If you go back and kind of read through every single thing that John said, I mean, he kind of indicated it's going to be his call, and like we'll let Artie know how we do this. I don't want to misquote him, but that was, I think, generally that quote, like we'll let him know, like, and I was like, okay, like, do your thing, man. Like that's a good sign. If you have a guy who's going to say this is what we're gonna do, like, and that guy's won a World Series and had a lot of success. I know like the end of his tenure in St. Louis was kind of a weird petering out period, but I mean he's done it, right? Like he's very successful in this job. So be curious how much that actually works. Telling Artie how it's gonna go from here on out. We'll see.
Yeah, obviously we'll see. But John Mozeliak is out as the GM of the Cardinals, and everything we hear, they were behind the times. So did Artie hire a GM? I get it. It's not a long-term piece yet. That's behind the times. I get it. He won a World Series, but as soon as
Yeah.
Yadier Molina left, there was some inefficiencies at the big league level that, oh, I guess we're behind. The time Blum came in and hired like more staff in the minor leagues. He was behind. Has Mozeliak spent a year out and learned what he was behind on since he's been gone?
Well, that's a great question, and I think I mean, it's a good point. I mean, the Cardinals have come in and immediately stepped into a competitive position to some extent, and yeah, it's listen. I mean, it's baby steps here with the Angels, right? You're getting somebody that's maybe criticized for being a little behind the times, but I wouldn't expect the Angels to go and hire like a Paul Timoni, right? Like someone that's just gonna want to come in and completely revolutionize everything and make it technologically up to date. Like it's gonna take a little bit of a process. So you get somebody in place that's at the very least like you know got a track record and is a serious baseball person. And it's no criticism of Perry necessarily, but like again, I don't think he stepped into this role with any of that, and I think he had a hard time manufacturing that among the culture and the organization. So yeah, I mean, again, it's time will tell. I agree with you though. It's not like it's not like you're hiring someone that's spotless track record. I mean, this ended like I said, in a somewhat discombobulated fashion there with the Cardinals, but there's a good reputation there, and I think that's a minimal. I mean, again, everything with the Angels kind of has a grain of salt with it. Like it's not. This is a way, 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 way backwards team. And I kind of looked at them as similar to like coming into the season is similar to like the 24 White Sox and the 25 Rockies, not in terms of the record they'd have, but just because it felt like kind of a steep decline to a point where it became necessary to address it. Like it was just going to kind of hit that point. I didn't think they were going to lose 120 games, but I felt like they were going to have a bad enough season where it was like, okay, like now you need to like just completely change the way you go about it. And that's what the White Sox and the Rockies have both done. And maybe this is that step for the Angels.
And they need to spend money too, because you can make some easy, quick, sweeping changes if you spend money. Talk to a GM assistant or a GM before that already wanted to hire, and he said, no, I will not spend money on that. And so they didn't hire that GM. But my last question is what you hit on a little bit with the trade deadline, because it becomes very intriguing. Since Perry's been gone, if John can convince Artie, is it Reed Detmers? Is that their biggest piece, or is it Jose Soriano? Because now we start looking at their different pieces and say, okay, these are viable big pieces that if Artie can be convinced, it could really help the Angels step forward instead of step back and keeping them.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should very seriously consider trading I mean, those two and Joe Adele. I mean, these are the players like, they're not in position, I think, to be competitive. I mean, maybe more competitive next year, but I don't think they're like a playoff team. I don't think the American League is going to be like this bad next year. I mean, they need to stockpile young talent. And again, Reed Detmers is kind of at a peak point right now in terms of his value. I've watched him pitch for 6 years. It has been up and down at best. I mean, more downs than ups. And right now he's pitching, I think, at a pretty elite level. And I don't know. I mean, is that going to continue? You'd hope so. But I think, the chance to have Reed Detmers for 3 playoff runs would be super intriguing for any team, especially ones that are competitive now, but maybe have holes in their rotation. I mean, Jose Soriano, I think teams might look at the Angels and say, we can figure this guy out because his stuff's all there. And I know his last, month and a half, 2 months have been not very good at all, but he was the best pitcher in baseball in April and into early May. So there's a lot there. There is a chance to, I think, they didn't trade Shohei Ohtani in 2023, and that would have been a franchise altering return. But I mean, I think you can make a case that Reed Detmers would be just as valuable as like a Tarek Skubal in this market, just because he's got those three runs, and he's pitching at such an elite level, uh, and has stayed healthy. So knock on wood, right? But like that I think there's just so much value in what they have right now, and this is the time. I mean, this is the time to pull the trigger and do a real rebuild that I don't think will take as long as maybe people assume it would. I mean, if you make those types of trades, you can get good in 1, 2, max like 3 years if you do things the right way and spend, as you said. I mean, that's going to be another big thing, spending, and not just on the free agent market. I mean, everywhere in the organization, but I think particularly in bringing in players again that can supplement the young talent that they hopefully bring back in these trades.
Sam, question for you, because I know you've been in the interview room many times to go back and forth and ask questions to Perry. How
Yeah.
did you see things change, and I think it's safe to say deteriorate over the years, right? He's got young energy, baseball family comes into the mix, and we all knew you're going to deal with some restrictions. He's not stupid. I'm sure he knew, right? I mean, let's just you can use a million examples in terms of facilities and what Artie Moreno allows with players, but even like haven't drafted a high schooler higher than the fifth round since 2020. Like, just punting on high school prospects is wild to me. The Orioles did that with international prospects for years. But in terms of how he answered questions, that's my question to you is, the air conditioning situation with Kikuchi, and then just questions in general about the state of the team and like the delirious positivity and not connecting with the fan. So curious how all of that took a toll on him and how that might affect the next person coming in. To me, I'm like, whether it's Mozeliak long-term or someone else, it's got to be someone that can actually come into a press conference to be like, yeah, I think Artie's too much of a fan. Like, he basically said that the other day. You need someone that's going to come in there and be like, I don't give a crap if I get fired tomorrow. I'm going to tell it like it is and not act like I'm all frozen and answering very politically. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, and it never, I mean, I don't always put that on Artie. I mean, that like Perry could have just leveled with people, in my opinion. He just never would. And I just felt like the deterioration, as you characterized it, I think is a good word, because it just felt like it was this building desperation, and this like it became impossible to sell this to the fans. And yet that was still he felt like he had to. And I mean, it was the air conditioning, but the one that really stood out to me was after last season. They fired Walsh's contract expired, but they didn't pick up his option. And they said it wasn't because of his health. They said it was because as his performance, job performance. And I said, okay, well, like if you can evaluate everyone else's job performance, how would you assess your own? And he was like, that's a question for someone else. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I have HR, required evaluate self-evaluations every year. I think anybody should be able in that position to be able to like self-evaluate, and it's a very important part of the job. And I don't know if that was really going on at any point. And I just trying to it always felt like it was a sales job more than actually doing the job. And yeah, it just like it got harder and harder and harder to sell it, and he continued to just not level with people. And like when you're losing like 99 games in a season, or you're just kind of falling apart year after year at the same time and in the same way. And yeah, like why not just kind of say we need to do this a little better, and this is where we're failing, and this is what needs to it just I think fans started to get really sick of it. And Perry would have had much more of the benefit of the doubt over these last couple of years from that fan base, if they felt like he was being honest with them. And I can tell you, as in my role, I didn't feel like I was getting honest answers almost at every single turn. So, hopefully, like you said, this next guy feels like he has the authority and the autonomy to be honest. And if he doesn't, then I guess he'll just go and do something else.
Yeah, it felt like Abbott and Costello sometimes, where you're
Oh yeah,
like
we had a
asking
good time.
questions back. You
I'll
guys,
miss.
dude, respect. Yeah, because it was entertaining. I felt bad. Perry's, well liked for years and all of that. And I mean, we have a show. I have a job to do, right? I'm going to talk about what someone did well and not well, and that included speaking, but his speaking tone changed a lot. So yes, you guys did have, entertaining back and forths, but it's not like you were just asking questions, and the reason you had to keep firing was you can't give like 2-word answers and then throw it right back to the reporter. That's just not professional.
Yeah, and I would say this for Perry, like I like especially the first couple of years of covering that team, like I felt like it was much different. I was remembering back in like 2023, there was a doubleheader that in between, or I guess after the second game, that was when Shohei Ohtani blew out his arm, and I had a red eye flight to New York, and that was also the day that Mike Trout was announced he was missing the rest of the season, and I landed in New York City, and I had missed this whole press conference, all these things, and I had a missed call from Perry with a nice voicemail saying, if you need any help with anything, just call me back, and like he's a good guy, I think, and I think he wants to help, and I think he wanted to be more helpful, but just the way it played out over the last several years, it just like got to a point where like my job was going to no matter what was going to conflict with what his goals were, and that's just played out as it did. So I hope he lands on his feet and has more success in his career beyond this team.
I mean, Kratz and Pilar played a long time, and you guys probably saw this with managers when a manager would come in sometimes for the first time and he looks all fresh and young, no wrinkles and everything. And it's like 2 years later, it looks like he's 10 years older. To me, I felt like that happened. I mean, Perry looks good, but I just feel like mentally a job like that can really take a toll. It's a lot of losing. It's a lot of obstacles to overcome. So great job covering it, Sam. I know it's not easy. Appreciate you stopping by as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
Thank you. All right, what are we working with this week? SeatGeek giving us some game previews so you can see where you want to purchase a ticket to watch a game on the app. Kratz always gives me an indicator here, KP. Like your indicator is shaking your
There's
head.
only one.
No. Oh, really? For tonight?
I got one too.
Okay, so Kratz, you first, and then KP will follow.
I mean, how can you not go to the poop game? The Pirates versus the Phillies. It's the poop game. Anytime you get a team that's trying to vie for first place, the 3 games back in the Phillies. And the Pirates, they got a nice little arm on the mound, too. Braxton Ashcraft is Mr. Consistency for this team that needs that second, third, fourth guy in the rotation right now.
I'm a homer. I love my Toronto Blue Jays, but I would love to be in the Rogers Center tonight for Bo Bichette's return.
Yeah, that's a good ticket. That is a really good ticket. Yeah.
Nice.
I know you guys just released a Bluebird territory. Yep, there you go. Mitch Bannon put out an article that I think we're going to get into tomorrow that regards returns. Did he mention it at all today, KP?
We didn't talk about it. I mean, he told us about the article, but he dropped it after, our episode. But yeah, it's about guys kind of making their returns. He went around the game asking guys what it's like to come back to a place. And we did do Mitch was gone at a wedding during the Rangers series. So we did kind of preview Bo Bichette's return today, a couple days ago. And I said, I think he gets emotional. I know Bo's been a very stoic guy, but I think everything that he's gone through in his time in New York, and then getting a chance to come back to a place where he's like really beloved, and he's going to see a lot of his, former teammates. He's going to be on that left side of the diamond towards the Blue Jays third base dugout. I know it meant a lot to him playing there. His career, he got drafted, developed, came up with that. He ultimately made the choice to leave. He was a much better player than me, but I remember when I got a chance to come back to Toronto, just the love that the fans gave me, and it's going to be sold out tonight, and he's going to get a hell of a video, and he meant a lot to that organization.
Yeah, if you're looking for a quick ticket there, I mean, it's sold out. So SeatGeek is the spot. Territory 10, 10% off MLB tickets on SeatGeek with the promo code Territory10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so that you can use it later. And there are other games to check out too. Maybe you're in Seattle and you want to watch George Kirby go for a non-piggyback Mariners rotation or selective piggyback rotation. Eduardo Rodriguez has a low 2 ERA in Arizona, so plenty to choose from. Can we switch Ms. Fridays to Ms. Mondays so that we can break it down the next morning or afternoon on FT plus, the MM thing going on? Wow. Fridays have been electric. Ms. went 105.5 and didn't feel like he got it all, which is insane. So we can play the sound first, and then I'll get you guys to react to the fact that we might have a pitcher in Ms. hit 107 at some point in the next year or two. I don't know. Let's just hear what he has to say first, and then we'll get your thoughts.
I heard it from Sproder after I was done, so it was it's cool. I know. I think I slipped a little bit on that pitch. I think that was the one I saw on the board. It said 105. I think I got a little bit more. So.
You slipped on it?
Yeah, if you watch the video, my front foot like kind of slides out from under me, so I think I got a little bit more.
More than 105.5, guys. Why is 107 crazy, Kratz? He's already at 105.5 and he slipped, and he's young.
This is just the same argument when somebody hits 25 homers and they're like, he's got 40 home run potential. Like, that's a lot more. Let's let him hit 106 first, and then we'll talk about 107. All right, let's just 1 mile per hour at a time. Let's just go with like 0.0 miles per hour. Like, we haven't seen him over 105 yet. He slipped. I get it. It's in there. Let's just pump the brakes. Let's get to 106 before we get to 107.
You were talking about the stress of the game and what it did to Perry Minasian. You see these like wrinkles on the side. That's from having to think about facing guys that could potentially hit 105. I'm starting to they're starting to go away a little bit because I don't have to worry about hitting those guys anymore. I just get to sit here and talk about them.
Yeah, you need a more skincare routine for that, KP. But also, like,
no, I need to just get out of the game. I just need to get out of the game because it was aging me at a rapid pace. Thinking the fact that he even thinks that it's a possibility that there's more in the tank is the thing that would keep me up at night. Now I don't even have to worry about it. I just get to talk about it.
Yeah, but you can't even conceptualize. Like, for me, I would do it in chunks. Somebody throwing 90 to 95. Wow, big difference. 90 to 93 or 90 93, like looking from the side, I'd be like, it's fine. I can react differently. It's, what kind of life does it have? Sync, all that stuff. When you talk about somebody that consistently sits 95, and then you say somebody that can go up and touch 105, 10 miles an hour difference, 95 to 100 is big. 100 to 105 is crazy.
And he knows where it's going.
And I love the heater. But this is my biggest thing. He releases it closer to you. KP, the best extension in the game was 7.3. And I think it was either Chapman or Hader. He is at 7.6. He is that much farther. He's that much closer to home plate when he releases the baseball. And he's throwing it 105.
It's hard to imagine. I'm thankful. I mean, I was like you, Kratz. Yeah, I love the heater, but there's levels to heaters. Like you said, you could kind of group those guys. The 90 to 95, you kind of know, when you need to get started. 95 to 100, you're like, okay, man, this is gonna be really tough. Like 100 plus, you're really not even seeing it. You're kind of getting lucky if you hit it at that point.
There's a metric for this too, guys. It's called perceived velocity. Do you know what his perceived velocity was on the 105.5? Because that also hit a perceived velocity record for him. And probably the perceived velocity record.
Well, 108 or 109?
107.8. That's what it looks like to you guys.
But you can't even, I don't even know if conceptualize is the word, but you can't conceptualize. Your brain can't figure out what that looks like because you're like, oh, I remember what 101 looks like. I remember turning around 101 2 different times and hitting it into the seats. 107? Like, yes, that's a perceived velocity. What does that mean? That means that John's getting on you quick.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Seiya Suzuki hit a homer off him, though. That was the first homer he gave up in like 2 months.
His second homer against him. There are guys that see certain guys really well. Josh Hader, Jose Martinez. Do you guys remember Jose Martinez had like a quick minute right-handed hitter with the Cardinals? He crushed Josh Hader. Crushed him. Everybody else. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. And he would just crush him. Certain guys can see certain pitches and swing at the right spot to be able to connect with them.
Yeah, and actually, we have Jose Martinez on Cardinal territory maybe a month and a half ago, if you want to listen to him. Yeah.
What a great man.
Super nice. Big giant, big gentle giant. But yeah, the Brewers are, still humming along, feeling really good, just hoping that Ms. stays healthy, since he's doing things that nobody else can do. The Pirates have dropped now the last 8 starts by Paul Skeens, yet they're still hanging around. That's crazy. I did not expect that to happen, for him to have a rut like that in the 4.5 ERA range, which isn't crazy. It's also, I mean, there's some run support in some of those starts, but he's definitely not looking himself. And then the Cubs are on another run. So the Cubs, I mean, I'm wearing my Northside Territory shirt today. So if you want to listen to Patrick Mooney and Sahadev Sharma break down the team and potentially have a huge new addition to their show coming soon, are they the ultimate seesaw team this year? They have to be, right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you win 10, you lose 10. I mean, I don't think it gets much bigger than that. Obviously, I'm a Toronto guy. I've been watching him this year. It's a little bit. We've been referred to it more of a roller coaster, but it seems lately we're on that kind of downtick a little bit more. But early on, it was just like they had the ability to win 2, lose 1. Lose 2, win 1, and then they finally, before this 6-game lose streak, they finally grinded back and they got to 500, and they had an opportunity to win that game and they let it slip, and then it's led to 6 in a row. So in my opinion, they've been a huge kind of seesaw. Obviously, like you mentioned with the Cubs winning 10, losing 10, it doesn't get any bigger extremes than that.
Yeah, they're on a
It's
12-4
historic.
run. The Cubs right now again. Now they're playing ball again, Kratz.
It's historic. I forget who wrote the article, but there have been no teams in the history of baseball since they've been tracking records, which I'm pretty sure they know who won the first game, so they were tracking records right out the gate, that no team has had this many winning streaks, and also like 15-game stretches of the least amount of wins and the most amount of wins. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. All right, let's flip it to AL East for a moment. We'll highlight in better than box scores Junior Caminero on an absolute tear. He's had a homer in 4 straight, and I think a homer in 6 out of his last 7 games. I mean, he had a year last year. He's so young, too. What he's doing in terms of damage at the plate is really incredible, and a big part of why the Rays are where they are right now, back in first place. So they've won 5 in a row, and they had a long skid for a month. They lost 18 of 27 leading up to this 5 games in a row now that they've won, and the Rays swept the Diamondbacks over the weekend. But Kratz, I mean, we've had him on the show. We've talked about him to the highest degrees. 22 years old. Like, one of the shots this weekend, the one off Merrill Kelly. Did you see that one? 463 feet. I mean, okay, well then KP saw it because he nodded his head.
Yeah,
What'd you
saw
see?
it. I saw it. And, obviously, the Trop is a place I played a ton of my career. Obviously, me and Kratz have been everywhere, but certain stadiums really well, especially being an outfielder, and I know where that is. I've ran out to my position and I've looked there before, and I'm like, man, that's so far. And then when you see a guy hit a ball there, it's really impressive. And he in my opinion, he's a top 10 player in this game. I think he just doesn't get enough respect because it's kind of the knock on Tampa. They don't draw well. They're not a big market. They're a team that just always is in it. They're a team at the beginning of the year. The projections don't necessarily always love them, but you just know Tampa is going to figure out a way to be, right in it to the very end. And I mean, look at those numbers. I mean, every team in baseball would love to have this guy, especially the fact that he's 22 years old. It's just really impressive. Like, he's just a really polished hitter who has a ton of power.
Where did he hit it to, KP? Because I missed it. Where did it go?
It was left center field, and there's like the seats, and then there's that kind of like thing above the seats.
Yeah.
You've seen guys more to left field that has like that Rays like banner up there. He hit it almost to like, it was like left of the it would kind of be equivalent to where the Rays the Stingrays are, but on the left side.
Okay, so like deep left center, because I saw Hunter Pence hit the banners that they hang in left field in BP. So I just wanted to know how far we're talking. Like, big distance.
Yeah, it was big. It was big, but not banner big, but big.
Yeah, but that was BP too. So let's pump the brakes.
Yeah, this is real games, and it's 7 homers in his last 6 games, and it's 22 on the season. He had 45 last year, so he's on pace for almost the exact amount, as we're just about at the halfway mark. That I was trying to do the math on Schwarber the other day, who we'll talk about later, but you can just about double the numbers right now if you're looking at pace. on pace for almost the exact same amount. So Ray's still playing some good ball. All right, let's step aside, and actually Caminero's name is going to come up again for our next segment. So we're looking at the matchups now, since we're in the final stage here of All-Star voting, and there's a lot of like this guy or this guy, Okamoto or Junior Caminero is the American League third base race. So we'll have KP and Kratz decide position by position next on FT. Hey, some transaction news over the weekend. There were some adds, there's some subtractions. Here's a subtraction. Christopher Morel, who the Marlins took a shot at, he gets cut. Man, he was toolsy, guys, but you got to be able to get on base. You got to field your position. There were KP a lot of things to like and a lot of things to not like about his game, and the Rays tried it out too. There were teams that are pretty analytic focused that tried to grab that and see if they could make him a complete player, and it hasn't worked.
I think it just speaks to the difficulty it is to stay in this game and perform at a high level for a long time. We take for granted that there's these guys that are successful for long periods of time. And then there's other guys like me and Kratz who just kind of figure out how to stay in the game for a long time. It's very difficult because you think about his little run he had in Chicago and the tools he possesses, the how far he can hit the ball, how hard he can hit the ball. Like this game is so much more about the tools than that you possess. It's about constantly making adjustments and learning and adapting. And, when the bat's not there, you have to be really elite with your glove in order to survive this game.
It is crazy to think about the guy that has that kind of power, that kind of bat speed, currently has less service time in the big leagues than you do, than I do. Like that's what's crazy about the game, but it's also hard to go from a guy who has been elite his whole time to like a journeyman and like figuring out how to be on the bench, get 200 at bats instead of 600. Like it's crazy. It's a crazy game.
Health too. He's went through issues too. Yeah. And that's
that's also part of the living and learning and adapting at this game. It's so much about constantly kind of changing your diet, your workout program, or how your off seasons go, how your training in season goes, in order to, unless you're just a superstar who's just gonna play at peak performance till as long as he wants to play. When you're kind of that guy who has his ups and downs in his career, you constantly have to evolve in this game. And if you're not willing to evolve in this game, you're going to find yourself getting released and kind of bouncing around, and eventually you're going to be out of the game.
Yeah, the only success he really had was right at the top of his career, talking about Morel. 2022 and 2023 with the Cubs, he did some good things, and he put up some homers. I mean, in those two seasons combined, let's see, 16 homers year one, 26 year two, but dropped off after that.
A lot of punch outs.
Oh yeah. At D2. Voting is open to decide your all-star starters. This is round 2, and this will decide things because now we narrow it down for most positions to 2, and then we'll get to the outfield as well. If you need help on your ballots, then we have 2 former big leaguers who watch games every day, and Eric Chavez and Kevin Pillar to help you. So, guys, we're going to go down the line. We will start with the American League, and we'll go position by position, and you tell me who deserves to be the all-star starter, okay? And if you need to back it up.
Before you get the name, before you give the names, what's your guys' take on the All-Star voting, by the way? Because I'm not in favor of it. I think it should be a certain percentage of the voting, because obviously there's times where guys get voted in and I don't think it's the right guy. I think the fans should have a say, but I also think that there's deserving guys. Obviously, market size plays a factor. So before we got into it, I just want to know what your guys' stance is, because I'm not a huge fan should have the entire, starting lineup vote. I think it should be a part of it.
For the starters, I'm not against it because it is for the fans. It's a fan fest game.
So it's funny, we talk so much right now about, oh, it's not fair. The big market teams get everything. Like, this should be the classic example of small market fans saying, hey, there should be a better, more weighted system here, right? There are less humans playing, to what KP's saying, in certain markets. So sometimes we do see a team dominate. And this year, this plays right into what we're saying here with Toronto. I mean, the Blue Jays have a player at almost every position as a finalist. They have the entire country of Canada voting. They had an awesome magical ride last year. And KP, for me, I'm a balance of mostly your first half here and then sprinkle in what happened, especially in the second half in the postseason, because there's some guys that might be off to an okay start in the first half and then they never get to be an all-star, right? So it's not just the award for who plays well in the first half of the season in my mind. So let's get to the voting, because this will help to explain what we're talking about here. Let's start at catcher. Shea Langoliers is an option. Alejandro Kirk is an option, who missed like a good chunk of the first half of the season. I'm guessing we can just move on quickly on here, right?
Yeah, but I think that's also the point too. I think fans should have a say, right? But considering the fact that Kirk missed so much time this year, and theoretically, the Canadians could vote Kirk in, who's batting 183 and has only played a handful of games this year. So that's where kind of like the argument I have is I do think it's important that fans have a say, but I also think there's certain people like Shea who is deserving of that honor to start the All-Star game.
Agree. It's Shea. He's earned it. Has he fallen off here? Yeah, absolutely. He has fallen off, but he was also leading the league in hitting. Probably not going to happen. He earned it. Shea Langoliers.
Okay, so this is going to help play to KP's argument here, and you tell me how much you factor in what I'm talking about at first base. Vladdy Jr. in October last year, ridiculous. Vladdy Jr. this year, not his best first half, right? He doesn't have a homer still, last I checked, at home, and they've played half their home games there already. Okay, so when it's Vladdy Jr. against Ben Rice for first base, how do you dissect this, KP? How much do you take last year into account versus Ben Rice having a significantly better first half than Vladdy this year?
I don't factor in what happened last year in the postseason. I think clean slate once the year starts. There are postseason awards. There's second half awards. There's all first team, second team now. So I'm strictly about what have you done since opening day to the point of when the All-Star game goes or when the last votes are. So to me, it's look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie in this scenario. Like Ben Rice has put himself on the map as a bona fide on pace to be kind of a superstar in this game.
Yeah, I think it's Ben Rice, 100%. And I think if you would ask players, they would agree with KP. I don't really care what you did in the World Series. I do like that fans are getting guys in that did really well in the playoffs last year, because there's no like all playoff team. So I do like that that's there, but we can't take it too far. This is a glaring case that it's Ben Rice. It's Ben Rice today, tomorrow, and the All-Star game.
But my example also is Ernie Clement. He got voted in, and he automatically gets in because he's the AL vote leader in general. So he's starting at second base.
But I also think there's certain times the fans do get it right. And if you look at the second base position, I don't think there's anyone more deserving to start the All-Star game. So sometimes it works out that way that Ernie just put himself on the map. He's had a great year, but statistically, probably the best second baseman in the American League. So they do get it right sometimes, but there's certain scenarios like we just talked about. And the thing is too, Kratz, as a player too, let's say Vladdy does get voted in, how is he going to feel starting that All-Star game or going to that All-Star game, knowing he probably is not deserving of being there? Like, he's not necessarily going to say, hey, thank you, but I'm not going to go.
Awkward.
Yeah. And mostly a lot of guys drop out, a lot of things change, right? There is a bench. So most of these guys will get in that we're talking about, but these are the starters, and there might be a snub or two, especially outfield wise, if everybody attends. So let's keep moving here. Shortstop, I think we can go very quickly. Bobby Witt Jr. against Andres Jimenez. Yeah, we're good, right? Bobby Witt Jr.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. Next up, third base. Kaz Akamoto, who has been awesome. One of the best signings of the offseason. He is a fun watch, and he has been great. At times, I think he's like keeping the Blue Jays offense alive, and it hasn't been great. You've seen a ton of him, KP. You've seen some Junior Caminero. We just spoke about him. How do you match these two up?
I think both are deserving to be all-stars this year. I think Kaz Okamoto's been incredible. The fact he's driven in 53 runs, he's almost got 20 homers on the year. And yes, he is a rookie. Even though he's an older guy, he's still a rookie in this game. I think he has kind of been the shining light for the Toronto Blue Jays offense this year, in addition to Ernie Clement. But look at Caminero's numbers. Like, that is impressive for anyone, especially a 22-year-old kid.
I mean, yeah, cool story. Okamoto should be an all-star. I haven't looked at the rest of the Blue Jays. Obviously, they have a lot of people voted in, probably the most deserving of the guys that are there. And so that would attest to what KP is saying. The fans kind of got it wrong, but good for the Blue Jays for noticing that there was a baseball season after your team went to the World Series. But this is Junior's position. Junior should be the starter, 100%.
And then I'll just skip us right past DH. Yordan Alvarez or George Springer. Yeah, we'll take Yordan Alvarez here, who is on a tear all season long, and he is keeping the Astros in a wild card spot. Okay, outfield, pick 3. So Judge is on here, Trout, Byron Buxton, Cody Bellinger, Dalton Varsho. And yes, we know that this list has injuries. This will end up getting all tweaked around. Do you guys want to do it where you play? Well, whatever. Just you pick. Pick how you want to pick. Go ahead, Kratz, you go first.
I know this is going to piss KP off. I love the outfielders being the stars. I don't really care. So I'm going Judge, Byron, Trout. I need them out there.
I don't disagree with you. I mean,
Okay.
even with the numbers, even with the injury to Aaron Judge, his numbers are still worthy of being an all-star, in my opinion. I mean, Mike Trout, could potentially be the lone representative for the Angels this year. And, I love the idea of Mike going close to home and Philly and playing an all-star game. Hopefully he's healthy and can play. And Byron Buxton's been just an unbelievable, kind of, I don't want to say comeback story. He's kind of playing up to what we always thought he could be if he could just stay on the field. I mean, he is so friggin' dynamic and so good. And he's one of the best players in baseball. So he's deserving. And, Cody Bellinger's, probably on that short list to kind of replace, Aaron Judge if he's unable to go in the All-Star game.
Yep. And Byron Buxton is a superstar. That's what he is. He's a superstar player. I mean, he's had superstar skills for a while. He's a superstar. By the way, some other shout outs before we get to the National League. Van Buren in the chat said Miguel Vargas should be an all-star. He said Caminero should start, but you're getting people just shouting out some other names that should belong. And yes, there are definitely some other names that should belong as finalists on this list, but the Blue Jays crowd just dominated. And hey, you're going to see the National League where the Braves and the Dodgers have a large fan base, and they showed up big. So let's do that side. Catcher first. Drake Baldwin or Will Smith? Kratz?
Man, I feel like I have to dive into the numbers more. But I think what Drake did kind of really set that team. You saw what happened when he was out. They're struggling now. Like I think it's Drake Baldwin right now. I think what he's doing is on a consistent basis, because when he's out there, I get he's hurt. He was hurt. He plays DH or he catches. And to be that, a young star like that, to me, I'm taking Baldwin right now, even though Will Smith is probably the best current catcher in the game. But I think right now, Drake Baldwin's my guy for this season.
And KP, they both missed time too.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, what Drake was doing early in the year, I think he would have been in, first month or two conversations for MVP of the National League. Like, that's how good he was. That's how important he was to this team, considering the fact that he's, a young kid, 25 years old, commanding that pitching staff with all the injuries that they've had. And not to mention, like Kratzy mentioned, the days he wasn't catching, he was DHing. So he was in the lineup every day, right, left, it didn't matter. And it was unfortunate he got hurt because he was off to, an incredible start to this season. But if it comes down to these two guys, it's Drake Baldwin to me.
Kratz, what about getting some Philly players in there? So Bryson Stott's on this list against Ozzy Albies. And for Stott, the numbers aren't necessarily pretty, but you went over the other day. The clutch numbers are better, and Philly fans are going to try to get some of their guys in.
Absolutely, but I think the guys that they're going to get in aren't going to be Bryson Stott. I think it shows you, that they definitely enjoyed what he's putting out there. They like his effort, so they're voting for him. But that's Albie's spot, and Philly's going to have enough guys with 2, possibly 3 pitchers going in, and they also have Schwarber and Harper have to go. They have to go. You can't not have them in Philly for the home run derby.
Yeah, and KP, I also forgot first base. I skipped right past it, but Freddie Freeman and Matt Olson in that matchup. No Bryce Harper. He didn't finish as a finalist.
I'd have to see the numbers. Obviously, I love both of those guys. I mean, Freddie's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. Matt Olson's probably on pace to potentially be a Hall of Famer. But I know, I watch a little bit more Braves than I do Dodgers at this point in my life. And Olson's a good friend of mine. I think he's probably the more deserving guy if you kind of look
Yeah.
at some of the numbers in terms of like OPS and slug and, driving and runs, homers. But, Freddie's as consistent as they are. I mean, right here, I don't think you can make a bad choice. But if I had to choose, I'd pick Matt Olson.
Okay, we'll go to shortstop. We're going to keep moving here. I can take this one. CJ Abrams against Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts is not having a great year up until the last, week or two. CJ Abrams has been so damn good, continuing what he was doing last year, getting better on defense, getting much better on offense too, right? More plate discipline, more pop. I mean, he's been one of the reasons why the Nationals are relevant this year. So that's an easy one, right, guys? For shortstop, we'll go
Easy.
CJ Abrams over Mookie Betts. Good. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking in the chat too. This is where, once again, my argument with the fan vote is think about a guy like Otto Lopez, probably deserving to be in maybe the final 2 guys to be starting the All-Star game with the numbers he's put up this year. But obviously Miami, much different market than LA, but more than likely Otto Lopez will be an All-Star, but CJ Abrams has been, pretty special this year.
Max Muncy or Alec Boehm? Thank you.
Both have been flawed.
Yeah.
Flawed, but Max's flaws have been the fact that he just wasn't on the field all the time.
Right.
Like Alec was flawed. He was playing. So there's value to that. But no, Max, I think Max was leading the team in home runs. I'm not sure if he still is, but Max Muncy.
He's had a pretty good year. KP to the outfield. Andy Pajes, Brandon Marsh, Ronald Acuna, Teoscar Hernandez, Juan Soto, and Michael Harris are on the list right now.
Oof. I mean, I definitely think Andy Pajes is deserving to be there. I think Brandon Marsh is deserving to be there, and considering the fact that the game is in Philadelphia, I think the Philly fans need to, go extra hard trying to get Brandon Marsh to start that game. It's kind of been just kind of a revelation season for him, what he's been able to do. In terms of Ronald Acuna, hasn't been on the field enough for me. Teoscar's missed a lot of time. Michael Harris has had an unbelievable year. He's kind of been in and out of the lineup too. I know Juan Soto's missed some time this year too. So, I mean, but when you look at the overall numbers, it's probably got to be Juan Soto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is where the fans got it wrong. Teoscar should not be up there. As much as I love Teoscar as a player, as a person, like awesome dude, he shouldn't be in that final voting. And this is where somehow it needs to be tweaked, but I am not the one smart enough to tweak it. And to me, it's got to be Pajes, Marsh, and Juan Soto.
No Michael Harris love. He's got the same baseball reference for as Soto, but he's way behind him on the bat.
Absolutely.
I love Michael Harris, and he's had an incredible season too. He's just had a little bit of, missed some time with some injuries this year. But to your point, Kratz, where my argument is, could the players and the managers have a little bit more say when it comes to the most deserving people, but then you get the fans to kind of vote on that, right? I think that's where potentially you could have the input of the fans of saying, hey, it is for the fans. We want the best players in the game, and we also want the fans to see who they want to see play, but it should be within some parameters of like, hey, Pete Crow Armstrong's not on that list. And I know Chicago's a big market and they probably just haven't done a great job of, the people of Chicago haven't done a great job, voting for him. But I do believe that there's a way that the fans could have their input, but it maybe is in these parameters of these players.
All right. Well, I would say I like your idea because it's creative. Did you see who the players picked as the best player in the game last year? Player of the year?
that wasn't Shohei because or Aaron Judge because there's always a player bias. So yeah, I do understand that.
Like until Shohei stops doing one of the things that he's doing, he's the best player in the game. So players can get it wrong too. But I just feel like there's something like how many games has Teo played? Like I didn't look it up. I haven't looked up the stats yet. But when this comes out and they go, okay, he's played this many games. Sorry, like I know he got some votes, but we're gonna just easily just delete it and then you move the next person up because he hasn't played. Like Alejandro Kirk shouldn't be on there. He got some votes. Delete it. Next person up. That's and maybe
Dylan Dingler. Dylan Dingler is the guy who should be on that list.
Oh my gosh!
Right? He's had an incredible year at the catching position, but once again, that's what I'm saying. There's not a perfect way of doing it. It is a flawed system, but I also was never an all-star, and as much as it would have been cool to be like voted in by the fans, if I was undeserving, it would have felt weird. Like if I was super deserving, like I believe Ernie Clement was super deserving, and the fans voted him. That's a huge accomplishment for him. But I do think there's guys that are deserving, like the Dylan Dinglers of the world. Wouldn't it be cool for him to see his name up there against Shea? And then, like, you have the baseball world of fans kind of vote on who they would like to see go to the All-Star game or start the All-Star game.
I like that. But KP, I was a 4-time All-Star. Okay, you just don't have to say you were never a big league All-Star. I was a 4-time All-Star. I don't need to know what league it was in, but it's a 4-time All-Star.
That's true.
There's Little League All-Stars out there, so we're really expanding the pool if we keep going down.
Right. Everybody gets a trophy, guys.
Yeah, there's a song. You can just sing it, and then you're an All-Star. Teo had 51 games played, by the way, 204 plate appearances. And we're at 80-something games, so he's missed almost half the first half of the year. All right, coming up next, Eric Chavez, former hitting coach for the Mets, to talk about what's going on out there. All right, here we are. Before we get into what I want to bring up for the 2-minute break here, Eric Chavez, I think, can hear us. We won't bring him on until the TV crowd returns. But Eric, if you can hear us, just flip your phone. I'm being told from the directors one time over, so we get a nice wide angle of the mug. I'll let you know if I get the okay that it worked and that you heard us. But otherwise, we're bringing you in 2 minutes, just chatting with the YouTube crowd here. In the meantime, one more flip, they said. Do one more turn, whether you went clockwise or counterclockwise. Do it one more time, and then I'll give you the okay or not.
That'd be great if Chavi comes on upside down.
No, we've had that before. Don't move. Thank you.
Okay.
We'll get to you in 90 seconds. Hey, one shout out to yep.
Upside down would be kind of fitting for the Mets season. So, I mean.
Oh, very valuable.
Very true.
Apropos is the word.
One catcher we didn't bring up who, should get some All-Star consideration, but there's too many people in front of him, so he probably won't be there. Shea Langoliers and Dylan Dingler definitely belong. Carter Jensen has a 19-game hitting streak with the Kansas City Royals. He's a rookie. They talked about how, he's hitting all fields, clutch situations, hitting lefties, hitting righties. The Royals are loving what they're seeing for him. He got famous early this year, KP, for missing his alarm and being late to the party there one time. But otherwise, it sounds like he's been a great teammate and a really, really promising catcher.
Let me tell you something. This is kind of the parlay with the Jazz comments. Like, you make some mistakes and then you just make up for those mistakes, and you never give the team a reason not to send you down or write you off again. Like, all he's done since that moment, he talked to the media, he answered the questions, he moved on from it, and all he's continued to do is hit and ball out. And it's okay when you come up to have a little bit of immaturity, but as you're there longer, you're supposed to evolve and grow and not let it happen again. And he's been nothing but, spectacular, to the point where we're throwing his name into consideration to be an All-Star at that position.
I have to just make sure that he wake up on time. If the All-Star game is at night, he probably make it on time. But on that, I have to tell him because Saturday he's an all-star. And if I go to all-star games, Carter, he good. He can play in all-star games.
Yeah, but maybe no red carpet. Red carpet too early.
How about that guy should be an all-star too?
True. He was a great player and then was doing a great job hitting coach with the New York Mets, who have gutted really everybody now from their coaching staff over the past year. Eric Chavez joining us right now. And excited to get into a number of topics, but obviously, Eric, as you know, you went a little viral in the past 24 hours. You were on an EC3 pod, just laying it out, which I think a lot of people want to hear right now. So great to have you on, dude. Great to catch up again. And I want to jump right in, if you don't mind. Can you just summarize a little bit of what you went over the past 48 hours in terms of turmoil with the Mets that goes beyond what we're even seeing here publicly in the roster construction issues?
Yeah, I meant, obviously with the Mets, there's kind of always something going on. But like, to be honest with you, the reason why I stepped out yesterday and kind of spoke out was Carlos is tremendous. I was a big fan of Carlos. Got to know him with the Yankees organization, and I think he's a really good baseball guy. I kind of feel like in this situation, there's a lot of good baseball people that are in this game, and kind of analytically, there's been a huge wave over the last, 15 years, and we're losing a lot of good baseball people. And, David got, he got tabbed pretty early, that he was a genius and he's extremely smart. But there's just been a whole stack of moves that have gone wrong. And sometimes that happens, but there are how many people good baseball people are gonna continue to lose their jobs while we're kind of waiting for you to deliver what everybody said you could deliver. And so this is for me kind of going out in defense of, obviously the coaching staff from the year before got fired. Really, really good baseball people, work extremely hard, been in the game a long time. And Carlos was kind of the odd man out this time. It was pretty predictable that this was eventually going to happen. I think David did hold on to Carlos a little bit longer than maybe fans would have wanted. So kind of credit to him for doing that. But, this is, Carlos is a good baseball man. I hate to see it happen. The Phillies fired, Rob Thompson, who's another really good, baseball guy. And it probably, sometimes a move does need to be made. I'm not saying, firing somebody, or even like myself from the year before, you make subtle changes. You don't make household changes. I think that's really backfired. If you had just fired me from the year before, and made a move or two on the coaching staff, maybe you move one or two players of those core players from the Mets, I think would have been probably the right move to make. So, this is, like I said, this is just me in defense of Carlos. What a good baseball person he was. I enjoyed my time working with him, and I know he's going to land on his feet again with a big league job here soon.
Hey, Chavi, I love that you're doing this too, because obviously there's a saying you can't fire all the players, someone has to take the fall. And I know you
Right.
mentioned kind of the Phillies and firing their manager, but in the defense of the Phillies, they didn't really bring in a bunch of new people in terms of their roster. Maybe a new
Yeah,
voice was needed there. Carlos didn't pick the players that he had to manage on the field. That is a David Stearns issue. So the
correct.
fact that you're coming to his defense saying the manager has to take the fall, a manager can only manage the players that he is given. And the fact that they went out and said that they were going to kind of create this, run prevention, then you have guys playing positions that they've never really played for. It feels very unfair for Carlos to kind of take the fall.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point, and Carlos has taken a lot of heat, over the last couple of years. And his first year, we went to the NLCS, so he's capable of taking a team to where they need to go. Yeah, I do feel like this is a reflection, front offices. Well, I can't speak about all of them, but most of them now, it's completely changed in the last 15 to 20 years. They have more of an influence. They have more of a say. They are, coaches used to be involved in off-season acquisitions and free agents, and they'd be at the winter meetings and they would have a voice. And it's not so much that way anymore. You're kind of just told, this is who we're getting, this is who you're going to play. And that's just the way it is. It's where the game's at now. And, I'm over analytics. Like I feel like it's had its run, and I'm not saying we need to get rid of it. It's not going anywhere, but we just need to put it in its place. Like there's obviously, there's benefits to having analytics and knowing numbers, but we're doing analytical hires, right? There's, to have an analytical part of your organization is fine. But we're kind of heading in direction of having analytics in leadership roles. It takes a special type of leader, individual, somebody who's not afraid of confrontation to kind of be a leader. And I don't think that always analytically, some of these guys have that type of background. And I'm not saying that they can't possess that, but yeah, it's just, to me, it's an unfortunate situation. I don't want to be, slamming David. It's not, he did a great job in Milwaukee. But the moves haven't panned out. And this is what it's all about, right? It's players are, if we're able to take a lot of heat for making money and we're not performing, well, now, you're the highest paid GM. You're at the forefront of this. Like, you have to deliver. And now you've got to take the criticism when you don't deliver. So, and like I said, it for me, it's just defensive of the coaches and the good baseball people, the boots on the ground that do the hard work. And yet we're kind of just subject to, the front offices and analytically the moves that they make. But we take the brunt of it when it doesn't look good. And so that's why I said he's running out of bullets in the chamber, because, you whacked the staff from before. Now Carlos is gone. Now it's his turn. Now it's going to be time for him to step up, and it'll be interesting to see what happens the rest of the year. They have a great owner. Mr. Cohn is unbelievable. I really firmly believe he's going to get his winner there. It just hasn't worked out for David, and the moves just haven't worked out at all.
The moves that you're talking about, when you talk about, all we heard was dissension in the clubhouse. We hear things like, "Oh, this guy's got to get out of there," and then it's perceived when these guys leave as those were good guys. What exactly happened? Is that what you were seeing, and all that talk from the media and outside was not true, or not as big as what people were saying?
Yeah, it's definitely not as big. I mean, look, guys, we've all been in clubhouses. Like, it's not always roses. Sometimes I played in clubhouses that were unbelievable, that everybody did love each other. But not every winning team has a clubhouse that gets along. Not every player loves their manager. Managers are usually disliked more than they are liked. Like, the ones that are liked are very few and far between. So, there were some things, but ultimately, when you lose, these things kind of leak out, and especially in New York, everybody wants to have a reason why things aren't going right. But there was nothing in that clubhouse. The stuff with Nimmo and the political stuff, and it's like that stuff. Like, it's so comical. It's like we just want to put something out there for for some bait or whatever. But no, it was a good collection of guys. I firmly believe this. I really do. When David started to gut, whatever you wanted to do with the coaching staff, whatever, that was fine. But when you take the core of the players that were beloved in that city, that grew up in that organization, and you kind of just rip it apart, now you really don't have an identity, right? And it's not a reflection of the players that were brought in, right? The Bichettes, the Roberts, like, good players, maybe some injury history, whatever it is. But you can't just, throw money at it, put some names, put some players together, and kind of expect them to just kind of take off and running. Like, it's a really, really hard thing to do. And then you got a whole new coaching staff, and it takes time. Like, even for me, when I was there with those players, it took me 3 or 4 years to really get extremely comfortable building my relationship with those guys, where I can have certain conversations with them. Like, it takes time. So I'm not surprised at all. Like I said, you look at the Phillies, right? Everybody was screaming, blow it up. These guys are too old. And Dombrowski stayed the course. He believed in his staff. He made one pivotal move, probably one, emotionally, that he didn't really want to make, but he knew he needed to do something, not gut it all out. And now his patience and his experience is kind of shining through, and they're going to make a run at this thing. That's a really, really good team, and they've done it before. And if they have health on their side, they're going to make a move at the break, and they're going to try to chase down the Braves. So just two different paths and ways of going about it. And you got to tip your hat to Dombrowski. Like, Philly's a tough town, and they were calling for people's heads and fire this guy and fire that guy. And he stayed the course. He made the one big move, and it's paid off.
Yeah, speaking of firing or let go, I mean, if you could share, what was kind of the conversation for, guys like yourself and Jeremy Hefner not coming back? And my second question is, do you see something happening here kind of in the second half of the season where the Mets can do something, go on a run and be the team that people thought they could be?
No. He needs to sell what he can sell and try to, and make a commitment to the future, right? Juan's going to be there for 15 years. Lindor's there. I would move now that you're kind of in this position. I would make moves to kind of, get what you can get and make the young players that are up there playing right now, Benj and phenomenal players. But there are some players that they need to kind of move on from and make a commitment to the future. Like, it's not going to be in the cards for them this year, unfortunately. My conversation though, when it ended with David, and this was, kind of an issue that I had with him, it was just very quick. It was, hey, we're going to move on. I said, okay, great. And then that was it. There wasn't, for me, like the lack of the human part of what we do emotionally. And you guys know, like, coaches, like, the amount of hours that they put in, it's very thankless. And especially from the hitting department. I mean, I was in that cage from 2:00 till 6:30. And sometimes even after the game, guys would want to hit. So you're full on emotionally committed, physically. The season is a monster. We're away from family. So for somebody, especially in my position, that I've been in this game for a really, really long time. Like, even when I was done playing, I was in front offices, I was getting to know the analytical part of the game and diving into it. And to have that conversation just be like, hey, thanks for your hard work, whatever it is. Like, there was no hard feelings. Like, we all know the saying in the game is you get hired to get fired. Like, it's inevitable. We all have, our kind of timing that it's going to run out. But, I just felt like that staff there, with the Hefner. Now you look at Hefner, you look at Antoine Richardson over in Atlanta, and they're excelling, right? You just let go really, really good, proven coaches. Antoine Richardson is probably one of the best first base coaches, one of the smartest people that I've ever been around. If you were going to keep anybody, that was definitely the guy to keep. And, I would have easily taken it, I would have been the guy that been fired. Fire me. But there was too many other good people that have kind of been in this game, and some friends of mine. And it's just, the game, they just got done, not the right way. And sometimes that's the way it goes. But as far as for the Mets this year, yeah, I don't really see them having the pieces to make a run. There's just too many moving pieces. And, you talk about, I'm not going to say run prevention anymore. It's pitching and defense, where you have too many guys out of position. And, it's just, I don't see the pieces there to make the run.
Do you consider some of the things you were talking about analytical? The fact that, I know how hard coaches are. Being a player is hard, but the hours that coaches put in are almost double the players, right? The fact that you couldn't have more of a conversation than just thanking you, because that was my issue when I got done too, is I just wanted to be treated like a human being. I didn't want to be treated like a number. I just wanted someone to say, whether they were lying and just said, hey, I appreciate you coming out, love what you did for this team, best of luck in the future. But I couldn't even get that. To me, that feels very analytical. Is that kind of what you're referring to as well, too? Needing people that are leaders, that are men, that can talk to you like a grown man that deserves a conversation of why you're not coming back, at least thank you for what you did for this team, tell you how you can improve, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, that's definitely the disconnect. And I think we have, and I've talked about this too. It's we have hires, coaches, managers that have, not done this before. They haven't put in the time, they haven't put in the sweat, they haven't gone through the rigors of a major league season. And we're kind of appointing, these leadership positions to people that haven't done it. And I don't care what anybody says. Experience is massive. It's the number one factor. It's like we all learn from our parents. We all learn, from the players that I grew up with, the veterans that came through. They taught me how to play the game. And I just wanted to be able to stay in the game and pass that along. But that all comes with experience. And we're kind of appointing people right away. Like, David got a huge contract. Great. Awesome. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Like, what has he accomplished to deserve that contract other than we heard this guy is really, really smart? But what have you accomplished in this game, right? Like I talk about Theo Epstein all the time. Like, you go to the Cubs and the Boston organizations that were starving for a World Series, and for him to kind of, put his imprint on that and deliver that to those cities was spectacular. That's a proven product, right? And I just think now in the game, we have people that are, I would never just want to be a GM, right? Like, I don't know anything about being a GM, but put me in the assistant GM spot for like 5 or 6 years so I can learn to get to that point. And I think that's what we're lacking. There's coaches that have never been in a big league dugout that are coaching big league players that have never been through a season. Like, what is an analytical or a coach that has never been through it going to tell a player that's 0 for 25 that is ready to, just quit the game and life is just miserable? Like, what is that guy going to tell him? What conversations are you going to have? And to me, that's what we're missing as well. Like, you're taking, the game's gotten a lot younger, which I'm saying, like, the game is really good. There's a lot of good players. The pitching is unbelievable. We're seeing a lot of good things, and there's some things maybe behind the scenes that we can kind of tweak and get a little bit better. But the veterans, we're losing the veterans of this game, right? Like, last year we had young players that were in veteran roles being, only playing once or twice a week. Like, a 22-year-old kid, right, needs to be playing. Like, he doesn't know how to stay ready. You need a veteran. You need a Kevin Pillar who's been there, done that, who's mentally tough, who's kind of been through it all to kind of lead some of these younger guys. And I think in our game, that's kind of what we're missing. We're missing that leadership type of personalities, and that's being replaced by people that really don't have experience. Like, I can't even tell you who half the managers are right now in the game. I don't know what I'd have to go look them up and see what their background is. Like, it's kind of headed in a direction that, I just don't agree with it. And if you look at this from a corporation, right? $1 billion corporations that can generate billions of dollars. And we're making hires to where people have no experience in what they're doing. Like, from a common sense standpoint, that makes no sense to me at all. And so, yeah, there are some, as good as things are in baseball right now and how popular it is with the fans, which is great, there are some other issues that we need to tackle and get a little bit better at.
So I want to finish with this because the part you mentioned the other day about Juan Soto definitely went off too. So can you explain that? And then for fans, I mean, some fans were like, well, isn't that the coaching staff's fault for Soto versus the front office in terms of him kind of doing his own thing, and how you balance that anyway with a guy who signed for a long time who produces. So can you run through what happened there?
Yeah, no, and I want to make sure I reiterate this. That was not a reflection on Juan. More than anything, it tells you the human side of Juan, where emotionally he made a huge life decision, and it was just a really tough 2 months for him in the beginning. Everybody saw it, right? You weren't seeing the joyful Juan Soto. He's 26. He's already won a World Series, MVP. He's one of the best players on the planet. I just think it was a really, really tough transition. But I feel like, from a leadership standpoint, and this is what I'm talking about, kind of the disconnect. And I referred to yesterday in our podcast that, Billy Beane had a huge conversation with me, and he called me out, and he was like, why didn't you run that out? Like, Derek Jeter runs this out all the time. And he pulled me up during the game, and he had looked me right in the face, right? It wasn't a roundabout. It wasn't, through a coach or the manager, right? And there's some players, when you commit to somebody long-term, right? I think, the voice of the general manager, especially if you have that relationship and connection, goes a lot further, right? And, of course you have we just talked about this, the leaders on the team, right? The veteran guy, to kind of pull him aside and be like, hey man, this isn't right, and whether that's supposed to come from the manager. Carlos is managing the game. He doesn't know what's going on back there, right? And I had referenced that there was an assistant GM that sat with Juan that didn't really, hey, don't you think it's a good idea? Like, let's get out there, support your team. Like those guys are out there supporting you. I felt like there was a few things that happened that, I just didn't agree with from a leadership standpoint. And, when other players kind of see other players, going through certain things, and it can kind of create a little bit of a disconnect. There was nothing crazy, nothing bad. It wasn't a terrible clubhouse. It wasn't a great clubhouse. But like I said earlier, not every clubhouse is great. And this wasn't a reflection on Juan. Juan's tremendous. Like, he's a great human being to give you the shirt off of his back. So I want to be very clear. I wasn't saying anything about Juan. It was more of, it's just like, he is 26, right? It took me a long time to, kind of take responsibility, and you're a reflection of the organization. The younger players are going to look to you. You're the guy that signed there for 15 years. You have a responsibility to the city and the organization to go about your business the right way. And I just thought that was a real good teaching moment, right? Because if you address the best player on the team, nobody else on the team has an excuse to do anything else. Like, you have to show up and be professional and do what you're supposed to do. And I felt at that moment, that should have came, especially when I addressed it and brought it up, like that should have came from somebody higher up. I'm not going to say it should have been this person or that person. But it just didn't happen, and it kind of went unspoken about, and it was just a really bad look.
Yeah, well, thanks for bringing stuff to light, because people want insight. I mean, the game is also run by fans. Fans want to hear what's going on, especially when, things are not being produced on the field the way that the team, hopes to be. So a lot more from Eric. Listen to the EC3 pod that he is part of, and he runs there. So you can listen to the whole part about the Mets there. But Eric, thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate the time and the insight.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers. Appreciate you.
See you
right
guys.
back. Hey, we're back. Tommy Pham signed. He was on with us about a week and a half ago, and then he signed a minor league contract with the Phillies so he could find his way up with the big league club. Hey, Kratz, you've seen Derek Hill stand out with the Phillies, and he's bounced around the league a little bit. Always a super athlete, incredible defender. He's showing up a little bit more with the bat right now, but maybe Tommy will join him at some point.
I mean, hopefully the guys can figure out how, or, the staff with the Phillies can figure out how to get the most value out of both of those guys. Obviously, Tommy brings that veteran leadership, grind it mentality. Derek Hill's playing right now. Like, if a superstar player makes the catch that he made, I think it gets more notoriety. That was a ridiculous catch. And offensively, he's kicking it right now for a team who needs some offense.
Yeah.
And I think it's a nice insurance policy. Nice. I mean, Derek Hill's, or he's possessed all the tools that you would want out of a center fielder. Like, he can really go play defense. He's super athletic. He's swinging the bat right now. Like, to me, you just got to let it run. Obviously his track record has shown that he hasn't been able to do it for a long period of time. Going out and getting a guy like Tommy Pham, and I did listen to him on your show. Keep him in the minor leagues long enough where he feels like he's ready to go. Like, don't rush him up to the big leagues, because that's what he kind of said his kind of downfall was. The combination of that and then not getting consistent run didn't allow him to do what Tommy Pham does best, and it's really grind out at bats and find way on base, and then steal some bases when you need it.
The
vision, got to be able to see the ball.
Yeah, no doubt. And the NL East is going to get interesting. The Marlins are 18-6 in June. The Braves are in a 4-12 slump, and their starting pitching is a problem, which is what people thought was going to be the problem heading into the season. Remember, we talked about this with the Mets last year. They're 29th in starting pitching ERA in those 16 games, and they're definitely going to need some reinforcements, while the Phillies are just roaring right now. They're 38-18. I looked at their schedule for the next couple of weeks. It still looks kind of soft in terms of opponents. So things are happening. They're 3 games back. Schwarber with his, what was that, his 30th already? 2-run shot off Senga yesterday to win the series. This team's clicking.
They're still 3 games back. They were on a hot stretch. The Braves are on a awful stretch. They're still 3 games back.
Mm-hmm. BetMGM Locks, Friday, 3 out of 4 of us hit, so that's awesome technically. But Todd Father holding us back as usual, always wrong. I'm kidding. Todd Father's really good, as you can probably see in the next round here. He's had some really good runs with us. He's up $2,600. All of us are up except for KP, who's down a whopping $4, which would buy you a napkin in New York City. So KP, what are you going to do tonight?
I'm awful. I'm the one who holds us back, but since I had to get help behind the scenes because every time I pull up bets here, it's in Spanish because I'm here in Cancun. But I believe I went with the Blue Jays winning, and I'm taking the under in the game. I like Trey Savage on the mound. Has a lot of guys in the Mets lineup haven't seen him, and that's kind of been his strength, is his uniqueness. And I just think the Blue Jays losing 6 in a row can't afford to lose a 7th.
Yeah, there you go. That's at plus 240. I'm taking the money line just on that game, the Bo returns game, and for the Blue Jays to punch at a team that's just not as good as Toronto, even though Toronto has been playing great and they've got the long losing skid. I think this is the kind of game where it gets snapped. Savage steps up, has a big night, coming off a better performance the other night too. So 125 to win 100. Actually, I'll go 250 to win 200 on that one. I'm feeling pretty good about it. Kratz, you?
That sounds like a 5-star bet to me, but I'm going with the second step in the ladder. Who won the first step in the ladder on Friday. Another one today, Braxton Ashcraft for 6+ strikeouts. Today we're going to put 99 down, and that'll be the second step. So we just keep rolling it over and get that cash.
Nice. Hey, if you're in the BetMGM app, there's our picks. Good luck for you. You might see on Tuesday or Wednesday a parlay boost token. And sometimes we've done the FT parlay where Kratz combines them all and does quite well. So activate that token on any parlay with baseball related MLB. You'll receive a bigger payout if your parlay wins. Gambling problem or concern, there's help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Infield. I'll start off here. Mr. Tough Grader. I'm giving the infield an A.
I was curious about this one.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of bad things to say. Now, there have been some bad defensive plays.
Mm-hmm.
Like Spencer's made some bad plays. Nick's made some bad plays. Connor made one really bad play that one time when he spiked the ball. But that was just one literal mistake.
Yeah.
But overall, man, and Triolo's been he's been a weak bat, but
mm-hmm.
I don't know how much more you could have hoped to get from this group. Lau is the best offensive second baseman in the National League.
Awesome.
Spencer Horwitz is one of the best leadoff hitters in baseball right now. Connor Griffin, before he got injured, was way better than I anticipated him being, and I thought he would be good, but the month of May,
he's
an impact player.
Yeah.
He's going to have a 3 to 4 WAR season this year if he can come back and stay healthy. And then Nick Gonzalez, man, I mean, he hasn't been amazing, but he hasn't been a total liability. I was super concerned about third base. And, I mean, Nick York started it off well. And then Nick Gonzalez earned that spot.
Yeah.
He took it from Triolo and York, and he's been good. And they've got good contributions from, some bench guys, too, like Callahan as a rotating piece has been a nice little bump over the last couple of weeks. Overall, yeah, I can't remember a Pirates infield being this productive in a long time, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'd have to go back to when Josh was playing, when they had, him and David Freese and Jordy Mercer and, or even the teams before that when they were a playoff team. Yeah, I mean, they have 3 guys who are going to be 4 WAR players in this infield.
Mm-hmm.
We could go back and look, but It would be my guess at least a decade since that's been the reality here in Pittsburgh, where 3 of your starting 4 infielders are 4-win players.
I mean, first base alone, you look at that, and that's just such a massive, massive improvement from the past few years.
Hey, Dodgers territory is coming up after our live show. We'll stay on YouTube like we always do, but then eventually they're going to have Justin Robleski live on the show. What a year for him with LA. So they'll talk to him about how he's been able to blossom Alana, Katie, and Clint on that one. And we're going to do an unusual slap hand. So I'm going to bring the slap hands topic to this particular segment. Cooper Ingle was scrolling through social media in his hotel room in Omaha when there was a knock at the door. Figured it was housekeeping, politely declined. Another knock, another decline. Another knock. Ingle's teammate answered. It was their manager. Hey, you're going to the bigs, kid. You want to be on the Guardians or you want to stay in Omaha? That's good stuff.
I mean, call me. Why you got to knock on my door? I'm not. What if I'm naked? My guy is doom scrolling. Call me.
Yeah, I mean, also, I mean, if I'm in my bed in a hotel room and I hear a knock, I'm gonna say, "Who is it?" And if it's like housekeeping, then I'd say no, thank you. But was there no like voice? Did he like say, "Hey, who is it?" Or was he just saying, "No, thank you, no, thank you"?
Just say, hey, it's the manager. Can I talk to you? You're going to open the door right away. And then he's going to be like, congratulations, kiddo. You're going to the big leagues.
Maybe he didn't want to ruin the surprise.
I guess not. All right, let's step aside. We're going to have some time to go through some mock trade ideas from Kevin Pillar over the next 5-10 minutes. Stay tuned.
Mets just fired their manager, Carlos Mendoza. Gone.
Yeah, Mendoza. I like Carlos Mendoza a lot, Todd. And I mean, listen, this guy was put behind the 8 ball. They fired everybody. They fired the pitching coach, who actually did a pretty good job for him. They let go of pretty much every single person on their staff to try to recreate something. Semien comes in. Nimmo's out. They
got rid of Jeff McNeil.
McNeil, Squirrel's gone. They wanted to change the culture. Alonso, they let go. They didn't re-sign him. Bring Polanco in to be the guy. I mean, Polanco's down. They got injuries. They got all types of stuff. They bring Bichette because they wanted to keep Bichette away from the Phillies. That's the only reason why they brought Bichette on. Mm-hmm. And if somebody wants to take a lie detector test in New York, one of the front office people, or maybe Cohen, that's the reason why they signed that guy. Otherwise, they wouldn't have. And none of those guys have worked out. It seems I've heard something that Bichette, Lindor, and Soto have only played 9 games together this season. So that makes it very difficult. But then Mendoza takes the heat. I think it's Stearns who should be taking some heat because he made all these changes in personnel and staff. And what did he get for it? I know that they had a lot of injuries, but man, you talk about a weak culture right now. Andy Green's going to come in. He's been there before. He's got a little general in him. He was there in San Diego as a manager, so he's done it before. He was in their player development, but the Mets are a bit of a dumpster fire right now, and they're going to have to make some moves. They already traded David Peterson.
Yep.
To the Cubs. The Cubs really need decimated also. So that they're going to start picking some people off. It'll be interesting to see who gets gone.
Let us slap, and we'll do it uniquely today. Kevin Pillar has come up with some trade deadline predictions slash ideas. So we'll go through one or two, and then we'll do a few more once we say goodbye to the TV crowd. KP, your thoughts?
Oh yeah. So yeah, I came up with these at breakfast this morning, and I wanted to give the Chicago White Sox a little bit of love on what they're doing. And obviously they've been able to build within, so I don't think they want to necessarily spend a lot of their prospect capital to bring in a guy. But Michael Walker has been, kind of a revelation in the second half of his career and has been super consistent. And I feel like him coming into that rotation would just kind of help bring an adult in that room and bring a level of consistency to allow the White Sox to kind of just ride out this kind of amazing season that they're on. And then, you look at the rest of the list. You talked about how bad the Atlanta Braves have been hurt with injuries with the starting pitching, and they've had guys step up, but it's starting to kind of fade a little bit. Could you imagine Tarek Skubal paired up with Chris Sale at the top of your rotation? Talk about an all-time 1-2 a punch heading into a postseason series. And obviously, to me, the Phillies are the team that, and the Dodgers, but the Phillies are the team. You have two left-handed starting pitchers. It matches up really nice with the Philadelphia Phillies. We can't talk enough about the Cubs and the injuries that they've had to their starting rotation, and they're continually having injuries to their starting rotation. I know they went out and got David Peterson to kind of fill in, and he's obviously had his ups and downs in his career, but kind of a steady guy. Joe Ryan would look really good in a Cubs uniform.
Yeah, those are some good ones to start. I want to get the thoughts from you on the last couple, and I want to do some follow-up questions on this. So as we always do, we'll hang around on YouTube, take any questions, really probably from Kratz and me. We'll put them on the hot seat to go over the rest of these trade ideas. So stay tuned there. If you're watching us on TV right now, then we will see you on Tuesday's show. Back tomorrow. Okay, so recapping here so far, KP has Michael Wacha to the White Sox. Love it. If the Royals are willing to deal someone like that, makes a ton of sense. Not going to cost as much in terms of long-term assets, right? Still something that you need to give up some juice for, but not the amount that it would take to get someone like Skubal, who you have going to the Braves, makes a ton of sense. Joe Ryan, you have going to the Cubs, would be a huge addition. And I mean, when you're looking at these guys, these are playoff starters, right? KP, like Wacha is going to start a playoff game for the White Sox if he ends up there. Skubal, of course, would start a playoff game for anyone. Joe Ryan, same thing for a Cubs starting rotation that would be decimated. Now you have two position player ideas at the bottom that I thought both were fascinating. One like makes more sense than the other based on what you hear publicly, but that doesn't mean that Byron Buxton won't get traded. So walk me through that fourth one on your list and the first one in terms of position players. Do you think that Byron Buxton actually will be dealt? Like, do you think that what we're getting is a facade right now from the team saying they're not looking to move him and Buxton saying, I'm not asking for anything?
Yeah, I think location matters. Where did I have him going again? I can't remember.
The
Was it
Rays.
Tampa? Yeah, Tampa.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I tried to factor in location to it, and yeah, I mean, I get it. Byron Buxton holds all the leverage in that situation, and I do love the idea that there's still a player out there that kind of wants to follow the Jeter model of like, I signed up to be with this team for the duration of my career or the duration of my contract, and the fact that he's saying it publicly obviously makes it a little bit more difficult to do, but I did factor in location, him being, a guy from the South, the Tampa Bay Rays could obviously use a guy. I think the way he's playing and how much money he's owed, I think fits kind of the Rays threshold of how much they're willing to pay a player. And then, you know, the last one with Jared Duran, I mean, I think, with where Boston is at in terms of their record and underperforming, and the fact that to start the year, it was like Jared Duran wasn't even going to play the outfield. He was going to DH. It felt like they had all these kind of moving parts. Eventually, Roman Anthony is going to come back, but he hasn't had the best year, but I still think he has some trade value in him. And the Padres, could use another kind of just exciting player in their outfield. I know Ramon Laureano is going to miss some time. I know right-handed, left-handed, but I think Jared Duran would be a nice fit in San Diego.
Yeah, his name has floated around, Kratz, for years now, and it hasn't actually happened.
Yeah, because it hasn't happened because they know he's an electric player, and they know that, yes, they have a lot of pieces, but they're needing them all because they didn't go out and get anybody. I mean, you're hoping Yoshida comes back and does something for your team, and then you don't, oh, wait, no, we're going to probably get rid of him. Now he's getting at-bats for this team. And then Durant, now Roman Anthony's not in there. I think they built this team with some definite position player flaws, and I think the Red Sox are at an inflection point this season. Do they put him back up on the block? That was my favorite one of everything, other than the fact that you essentially trolled the Twins for trading Byron Buxton when what he said was nobody's talked to him. He hasn't gone to anybody. That just means nobody's approached him with a nice little deal.
Right. It could be selective. Also, hey, factor this, it's real. I don't know what the exact number is, but I know it's not nothing. Minnesota taxes versus Florida taxes the rest of the way there. Like that part does make sense. He's from Georgia. I'm with you here, Kratz. Byron Buxton is not going the route of, say, Mike Trout, who for a while really wouldn't go anywhere. I think maybe now he'd be open to a conversation. I think Buck would be open to a conversation. He's obviously not going to initiate it. He's not that guy. And rarely in MLB do players request trades anyway. But if the Twins say, hey, this is it, we're 8 games back, it's the trade deadline, your value is sky high, we've got this awesome offer from the Rays or the Braves, I think he's going. I think he's waving it and he's going. If the numbers match up for him tax-wise, I'm sure. I don't know what Georgia has matched up with Minnesota, but that all gets done behind the scenes anyway. They figure that part out because that's part of the no trade clause too. You're generally not going to go to a team where it's costing you if you can control that. But I think he's going to play for a contender if he wants.
How many players from the Twins or previous players that were Twins have we had on since last trade deadline that said, we had no idea. We had no idea they were going to do it like this. So just because we don't hear anything today, June 29th, doesn't mean that the Twins ownership isn't going to be like, we do need to cut a little bit more, and I think we could rebuild because Byron Buxton's only making $15 a year for the next 2 years.
The reason why I don't think it'll happen is I think they'll trade Joe Ryan, they'll trade Ryan Jeffers, that'll clear some money. And I think that what they're trying to do is you had a different Pohlad brother take over the reins for the last 6 months, and he's trying to say that they're more competitive. So if you trade Buxton, you kind of go against everything you said. Morale is already super low, fan morale out in Minneapolis. So I think Buxton's the guy that they keep, right? It's kind of like Artie Moreno keeping Trout for years, right? That's the ticket right now. You go to Minnesota, you're watching Byron Buxton play. That's the level that you're getting and seeing a superstar every day, regardless of how the team's playing. But anyway, agree or disagree or like or don't like anything from KP's list, let us know. If you like us playing that game anyway, the trade machine, then comment and we'll do more of them. KP, good stuff, man. Enjoy the rest of Mexico. Kratz, don't let anyone quit early or sound the alarm and say, hey, come back to baseball.
No, they're out. KP. 2 piña coladas, papi. That's what you need.
I'm on my way.
Go get it. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Justin Robleski on Dodgers territory if you want it.
Ooh-wee.